So we'll just have around 40-45 minutes of what is anthropology. And today is fundamentally the orientation, and I would rather call it as introduction for the new batch of anthropology. Okay? Now when you look at this particular session, majorly we would focus on why anthropology and what aspects of anthropology will be discussed as part of your sessions, and basic what is going to be the course timeline. Okay? So I think most of the students would fundamentally be or would want to be informed about course timeline, and we would see what are made part of this particular course. Okay? Now when you look at anthropology, if I have to just give you a basic understanding, although most of us would not have heard anthropology as a subject of study, but we would have only heard about it in the context of civil services exam. But somewhere I feel that we have missed a beautiful subject in our graduation. Why? Because when you look at anthropology as such, it is completely study of man. I have used a specific word here called complete. When I say complete, all the dimensions of human being are studied in anthropology. When I say all the dimensions, one is the social. When I say the social dimension of human being, it deals fundamentally with what is society, what is culture, how are these connected, and as part of this, it starts giving you understanding of certain institutions like marriage, family, kinship, types of marriage, dynamics of marriage. Now we go up to an extent of studying anthropological perspective of live-in relationship and same-sex marriage. Why? Because live-in relationship as a question which was asked thrice so far in UPSC, and the latest it was asked in 2020, understanding the dynamics of marriage. So we would look at those dynamics, and we would also look at different types of family, what is happening to joint family, right? If you look at kinship, why do we call somebody with that name? Because when somebody comes and tells you, you call this person Atta, did you ever question why should I call them Atta? Why not Peddamma? Or why not Pinnamma? Right? Why are we calling them with those names is again what we are fundamentally studying in kinship. How are we inheriting? Right? Somebody says that you are going to inherit from your father. Right? Somebody says that you are going to inherit from your mother. Somebody says that son is going to inherit. Somebody says that daughter is going to inherit. Somebody says both are going to inherit. So we would fundamentally get into the understanding of what is happening around us. And whatever 20, 22, 23 years of your life you have lived in India, you would fundamentally start understanding by studying anthropology. And one component of that is the societal aspect of the human being. And for per se, we would also look at the economic structure of the society, right? What is the impact of globalization? You would have heard about a factor called globalization. Yes. And when we see globalization, we see that our country is open to the outside world. And when it is open to the outside world, what is the impact? There we would fundamentally study about something called as 5-scape approach given by Arjun Appadurai. Right? And that's again a very important question which is asked every alternate year. Okay? So we would look at economy, we would look at political structure. What is power? What is authority? Don't you think most of you who are coming into civil services would want power, authority, and legitimacy? And we would fundamentally understand what are the approaches to see all of these aspects. And then we would get into religion. We would see why religion, what are the types of religion, purpose of religion. For all of us, religion only be remembered just before the exam results. Don't you think so? And most of us become extremely religious before writing exam and before exam results. Why do you think so? Is there any reason for that? It is just to manage the anxiety within. Yes. And that we call that as functional approach of understanding religion. So what we fundamentally observe is we are going to look at every component of human being. That is with respect to overall perspective. Now when I come into the Indian perspective, you would see that one very, very important factor most of us will have to understand is what? Caste. That is what we study in paper 2. In paper 2, you would have something called as caste studies. The other component that you will have to study about India is village. Why? You would see that over 62% of Indian composition is what? It is rural composition. That means more than 2/3 of the country is rural. So what is becoming more important to us is how are we going to understand Indian villages? Right? Is Indian village changing? What's your perspective? Is it changing or is it the same? It is definitely changing. What are the factors that are changing it? One common thing that you see is you can access online orders and you have e-commerce in villages today. And when we are going to understand these dynamics, we would see Rudolph and Rudolph's understanding of bullock cart capitalism. And we would look at something called as Commander's understanding of socio-economic changes in Indian villages. So what is happening is we would look at the dynamics of village, and more importantly, we would look at what is happening with respect to the tribal section of the society. In fact, chapter 6 to chapter 9 of paper 2, we would majorly deal with tribal development. What is going on with tribal development? What is happening? What is the status? What are the issues? What are the approaches that are followed? Are we the first ones to develop or look into the tribal development? Was there an approach which was followed by Britishers also? There was an approach, and we call that as colonial approach. And we are in what? Post-colonial approach. So fundamentally, we would again look at what is happening with respect to the tribal population. How are we going to look at the development of tribal population? Because as part of administration, this is very important. What is guiding Indian administration? What is guiding Indian governance, my dear? Article 38 of Indian Constitution. When you look at Article 38 of Indian Constitution, there is an obligation which is put down by the Constitution in Article state of what? Welfare state. And anything and everything that is done in policy making, anything and everything that is done in governance, anything and everything that is done in administration, it has to have what? An objective of welfare state. And in that context, we fundamentally study about the tribal population. So that is another important area where we are going to cover with respect to society and culture. Now here, when you look at the speciality of anthropology, now when you look at other subjects, right, I am not naming them, you can actually relate. When you look at other subjects, what happens is other subjects would only see societal aspect or cultural aspect or historical aspect. Yes? But when we look at anthropology, we are looking at societal as well as cultural in combination. One. The second component here is, to a larger extent, is you are going to study about biological anthropology. And let me start off with a disclaimer here. Please understand, biological anthropology is not medicine. One. Biological anthropology is not biology. Two. And you are not going to study physiology, you are not going to study anatomy, you are not going to study about digestive system, nothing like that. Because many of the people will have apprehension that if I have to take anthropology, I need to be a medical student or bio student. Not necessary. I am an engineer. I am an engineer with masters, MTech, right? So which fundamentally means it is a subject which is comfortable for everybody. Why? Because at the end of the day, we are not studying the core biology. Then what component of biological anthropology do we study? Now when you look at what component of biological anthropology do we study, you see that how is the society and culture affecting the human biology. Now for suppose, you would have heard about something called as cousin marriages. In southern India, it's very famous. And in one community, we have cross cousin marriages. In one community, we have parallel cousin marriages. Parallel cousin is what? Your peddamma, pinnamma, pillalu is parallel cousin. Atta, mama is what? Cross cousin. Now, when you look at this parallel cousin and cross cousin marriages, does your parents encourage them today? Once upon a time, yes, they had. But today, they say no. Did you ever reason out why? Forget about whatever the ill that has been done by your relatives. That's a different case. But what is the reason? Fundamentally, you see, there is something called as consanguineous and non-consanguineous marriages. When I say consanguineous marriages, it deals with marriage who is belonging to the similar group. And when you are going to have this, what happens is, you see, I'm just introducing one small word, that there is a condition of homozygosity which is prevalent, because of which the genetic composition is going to have lesser efficacy, which fundamentally means who is more susceptible to diseases is a person who is looking for consanguineous, not necessarily from non-consanguineous. Non-consanguineous means what? You are going to marry out of the group, not within the group. And when you are marrying out of the group who are not related to you, that is going to become what? Non-consanguineous. And there, this supply chain is going to be disrupted. There, because it is going to result in a condition called as heterozygosity. Zygote you would have heard? Zygote. Yes. Hetero means what? Different. That is the maximum biology you study. And nothing to worry. Right? Over a period of time, I think before this I have dealt with one batch. Hope you know we have finished. First batch. You see that they feel physical anthropology is very easy. Because that is the way that I have represented physical anthropology. Right? Now, with fundamental understanding is, one, we study how is society and biology affecting, or this affecting your biology. The second aspect is how is biology affecting culture. And not only that, we would also see how is environment affecting biology. Now, when I say environment affecting biology, have you seen African population? Technically, we call them as negritos. But for our understanding today, African population, have you seen? Have you seen the East Asian population, for example, Chinese, Japanese, your Koreans? Have you seen that population? Why do you think there is a difference? Because of environment. Forget about that. Can you differentiate between South Indian and North Indian? Yes. Why? You see, North Indians are tall, with sharp nose, yes, fair in complexion. But when you look at Southern India, who are staying closer to the equator, who are staying in the tropics, what is happening? We are slightly brownish, dark, yes. You fundamentally have to understand this is an adaptive feature. What is going to happen is, if I am existing in a region which is sunny, what do? Today we have sunscreens. Fantastic. But our natural sunscreen is what? The melanin composition in the skin. The melanin composition in the skin is going to be a natural sunscreen. And that is an adaptive feature. And who is affecting this adaptive feature? Environment. Environment. Now you see, because of environment, the stature will be affected. Because of environment, the nose structure will be affected. Because of environment, the length of the limbs are going to be affected. Somewhere I see a short limb, somewhere I see a long limbs. Have you seen penguin? Right? How are the ears of penguin? Big, small. They are small. Have you seen elephant? They are big. What is the difference? You fundamentally have to understand penguins are the species which are existing in cold region. With small ears, what are they doing? They are fundamentally conserving the heat. But whereas when you look at elephants, they are existing in what? Comparatively hot regions. And when they are existing in hot regions, what happens? Should they dissipate heat or conserve heat? Dissipate heat. That is what your fan is also doing. What is fan doing? It is fundamentally dissipating the heat from the body. This ear structure is also going to dissipate heat. That is why the ears are big. Have you seen penguins' limbs? Very small. Yes. Why? Again to conserve heat. This is the biology we study. Nothing to do with digestive system, nothing to draw kidneys. We are not going to do anything like that. Maximum biology is this. You need not have apprehensions at all. That is my guarantee. My guarantee. And my guarantee is again that after your paper 1, you will feel that physical is more easier than sociocultural. Is this clear, right? And how is biology affecting culture? This is what? If I go reverse, what are they telling? Don't marry your cousin because your genes will have some defects. So go for non-consanguinal marriages. Biology affecting culture, culture affecting biology. Forget about this. If I have to give you a better example again, you see, when you look at the process of evolution to a larger extent, what has happened over a period of time? Initially, our ancestors, they were all eating what kind of food? Raw food. Was it cooked or uncooked? Uncooked. Eating uncooked raw food was the culture. And because of which, what do you see? You see that they have large dentition. Dentition means what? Teeth. Large size. Are we having large dentition? Is our dentition similar to chimpanzee? No. Orangutan? No. Why has this dentition fundamentally changed? You find that this dentition has changed because of cooked food. Now cooked food is softer. I don't have to break anything. I'll just have to chew and digest. So what is going to happen? I am going to have a moderate dentition. Are my teeth large? No, they are moderate. Why? Cooked food. Now fundamentally you have to understand, how am I able to cook food? Because of the invention of what? Fire. This is culture. This is culture. This is biology. This is what we study in physical anthropology. This is what we study in biological anthropology. Nothing more than this. Now, what is the beautiful part of this is, you are studying society influencing culture. Culture influencing society. Society influencing biology. Culture influencing biology. Biology influencing culture. Biology influencing society. Environment influencing biology. Environment influencing culture. Now you tell me, what is remaining for us to study here? Don't you think I have studied in detail about what is man? I have studied in detail about what is the life, what is the history, what is the future, what is the way of living through anthropology. Yes. Now I can also understand through anthropology that what is going to happen to my caste. That is what we study in Future of Caste. I can also understand what is going to happen to my religion. That is what we study, Secularization of Religion by William Brainson. I can understand what is going to happen to my family. I can understand what is going to happen to my marriage. I can understand what is going to happen to my kinship. Are we still maintaining kinship? Are we still calling Atta, Peddamma, Pinni, or are we just calling aunt? Aunt. Are we calling Attamma today? No. Aunt. Mamaya? No. Uncle. Right? The neighbor also you call them with uncle, aunt. Are they related to you? No. But who are related to you also you are calling the same names. This is what is called as the classificatory systems of kinship, where I call in general. where I call in general. I am calling Baba as Baba or cousin? Cousin. Yes, your Peddamma's daughter is what? Akka. Cousin. Now that means your Baba is cousin, Akka is cousin, Mardalu is cousin, everybody is cousin. Where is the difference? Now, so fundamentally what is happening is I can understand what is going to happen to my future. And I would always say an anthropologist is definitely an efficient astrologer. Why? Because I can talk about how my society is going to be in future. I can talk about how my culture is going to be in future. I can talk about how my biology is going to be in future. Now what is happening, my dear? How are we sitting and studying? Are we sitting erect or are we bending? We are bending and studying. Yes or no? That is what we do. How are we sitting? Normally also we are bending. But you have to understand what was our evolutionary process. From this posture we came to this posture. Now what are we doing? We are going back to this posture. So my future of biology also, I am damn sure, may not be in my generation, but probably in 10 generations or 15 generations or 100 generations, that the human being will slowly turn back into this posture. That is why I say an anthropologist is an astrologer. Because I know what is going to happen to the future of all of these components. And you know there is one factor that is coming up is what is called as climate change. With climate change, don't we think, now what is happening, my dear? Telangana is experiencing cold wave, we are seeing. Where is Telangana? Telangana is in tropical region. Telangana experiences continentality phenomena. Now Telangana is one state which experiences heat waves. Now a state which was experiencing heat wave is now experiencing cold wave. Don't you think that is strange? It's extremely strange. And with this, our culture is going to change. With this, the biology is going to change. With this, our society is going to change. So you fundamentally have to understand anthropology is going to give you this overall understandings. And that is why I keep anthropology as a branch above everything. And if you ask me what is going to help me in my administration to a larger extent, I can confidently say anthropology. Why? Because administration is all about what? People management. When will you manage people better? When you know them better. When will you know the people better? When you know their society, when you know their culture, when you know their disease profile, when you know their health profile, when you know their dietary practices, when you know their environment. In which branch are you going to study all of this? Only in anthropology. In medical sciences, you will study bio. In sociology, in psychology, all of that, what is happening, my dear? You have, in political science, PSIR, all of this, you have only one way or one myopic understanding of the modern societies which are existing. But in anthropology, what are you going to see? You are fundamentally going to understand the holistic perspective of human being in society, biology and culture. I am not demeaning any optional here. I am talking about the greatness of my optional. And I regret that I should have known about anthropology in my graduation. Probably I would have turned into an anthropologist. Because this is one which is going to give you a huge scope for understanding what is happening around you. Right? Simple understanding, my dear. I think you have already would have seen my video also on that. We are speaking some language. Yes. What's happening to our language? Is it pure language? Or is it all mix? It's all mix. Yes. Right. Now, what's up? Yo. What is yo? What is so yo about yo? Right? What is this? Yup. Where is this language coming from? We don't know. So what is fundamentally happening is you see that how is language changing is what we study in linguistic anthropology. What is the aspect of this? You fundamentally observe westernization, globalization, modernization, digitization, communication, All of democratization of knowledge, democratization of digital services, democratization of various aspects, fundamentally what is happening? Now you have an impact on your language. And you would see that various factors are going to change language. And the language will also change various aspects. You would have studied about, or you would have heard about something called as non-verbal communication. Yes? Now just imagine, my dear, I am teaching the class with a blank face. What will happen? Now just imagine I am teaching anthropology is a good subject. You should take it. Otherwise you will suffer in exam. Right? Immediately you will run away. Why? Non-verbal communication. In non-verbal communication, if you observe my teaching style, sometimes I would be bending forward. Why? Proxemics. When I bend forward, I am getting closer to you. When I am getting closer to you, I am establishing a silent bond that we are close. We are close. That is proxemics. Now when I come on time, it is going to be what? Chronomics. Are you understanding this? Fundamentally, all of this is what? Non-verbal communication. Now, when you go to meet your loved ones, will you go half an hour late or 15 minutes early? Let's be frank. 15 minutes early. If you go 15 minutes late or half an hour late, what will happen? The opposite person says that you are not interested in me. Right? Now, just by going half an hour late, how come a person is telling that you are not interested in me? Is it verbal or non-verbal? Non-verbal. Are you understanding? Now, some people will wave lot of hands. Some people blinks too much. Now, all of these systems are what? Non-verbal communications, and that is going to be the point of study of linguistic anthropology. And we would also see how is this affecting communication. And apart from that, how is language going to determine? Language is going to determine culture, language is going to determine society. Now for example, when I call somebody Ra, some people will like it, some people will not like it. Right? When I call somebody Andi, somebody will like it, somebody will not like it. Now what is happening here? The way I address you will also have an impact of how are you going to treat me. Fundamentally, yes. Now, one very famous video of me was with respect to how is the terminology in the recent past changing. Now, once upon a time, we used to call Zomato person as delivery boy. Today, we are calling them as delivery executive. Yes, you see Rapido person, you see Uber person, we used to call them as drivers, but today we are calling them as captains. Why? Language gives you culture. Language determines what is your thought process. Language will determine what is the kind of treatment that you are going to give. Now when I say this person is a delivery boy, you would have one kind of treatment. When I say this person is delivery executive, you would have one kind of treatment. Now when I tell you I am a teacher, you have a different perspective. When I say I am a mentor, you have a different perspective. When I say I am a faculty, you have a different perception. And if I come and tell you I am the subject expert of so and so, you have a different perception. Is the person changing? No. What is changing? How is the person being addressed changing? And what is my address going to determine? It is determining what is your thought process. And that is where we study about Sapir-Whorf hypothesis in the context of linguistic anthropology. How is language determining my thought process? Now one more thing, can you learn any language easily? Now for suppose say suddenly I come and tell you learn Bhojpuri. Or suddenly I come and tell you learn Assamese. Or suddenly I come and tell you say learn Malayalam. Right? 30 రోజుల్లో Malayalam. Do you think it is possible? As an anthropologist, I can definitely tell you it is not possible. Is it possible? Not at all possible. Why? Language is a force on my mind. Language is a force on my mind. Now, when we come from nominal schools, what we used to do when we were trying to speak in English, first we will translate that sentence in English and then we speak. The same thing will happen today. How are we speaking Hindi? First we will translate that and then we will try to say. Why? Language is impacting my thought. Why mother tongue is called as mother tongue? Why not father tongue? Why are we calling that as mother tongue? You fundamentally have to understand that that is the language which you have picked up in the process of socialization. When you are upbringing, what is the major role? Whose is the major role? You have mother, you have father. And most of the aspect of upbringing is seen among parents. And in this context, you have to understand one small change if you would have observed. You see, the kids who are born in the recent past, somewhere after 2020 or say 2019 or after 2015, they are very good at English at a very young age. Yes, they speak more English rather than their mother tongue. But whereas our generation struggled a bit to talk in English, not so fluent as those kids. What was the difference? Socialization. We were brought up by speaking in mother tongue, by being scolded in mother tongue, by being beaten in mother tongue. But these kids were brought up by using what? English. Arey beta, you should not do that. But for us, Ray. So that fundamental aspect is what learning a language is very difficult for us. Why? Language is acting like a force. It is a force. That is why a polyglot, who is a polyglot? Who can speak many languages. It is observed. An individual who can speak many languages, also known as polyglot, will have greater development in the sphere of brain. Why? Because language can influence your cognitive abilities. It is observed that a person who is a polyglot has more memory power, which fundamentally means language has its own influence. We would study all of this in linguistic anthropology. So one aspect, if I have to summarize, we will study in anthropology the socio-cultural anthropology. Marriage, family, kinship, economy, political organizations, religion, language. We would also study about physical anthropology. What I was talking about, biology, right? Some genes, how are genes affected? How is environment affected? How are diseases present? We don't study about diseases, no. We study how are diseases transitioning. Once upon a time, we had more infectious diseases. Then slowly we started having something called as lifestyle diseases. Lifestyle diseases like what? BP, sugar, heart attack. All of these are what? Lifestyle diseases. And today Lancet report says that over 68% of deaths are occurring because of lifestyle diseases. And slowly over a period of time, now we are in the era of what, my dear? We are in the era of pandemics. COVID, Nipah, Ebola. Now that means this is the transition of what? Diseases. Previously it was infectious, like malaria, some infectious diseases. Now, lifestyle. In the near future that we are experiencing is what? Epidemics and pandemics. And this is what is called as the Umran's understanding of epidemiological transition. How is the disease transitioning? Are we studying about individual disease? In malaria, what is affecting? What is the causative agent? Nothing doing, my dear. We are studying the socio-cultural aspect. We are studying what society, we are studying what culture, we are studying what nutrition, we are studying what environment is resulting in such kind of changes. That's more important for us in anthropology. That's more important for us in anthropology. So we are looking at these particular transition, what is happening in physical anthro. So, we are looking at the socio-cultural context of the biology, but not the physiological context of biology. Manam biology ni biology laga chadavatledu. We are studying biology through what? Socio-cultural aspect. How is this influencing? How is that influencing is our point of study. Apart from this, you also have to understand in the context of anthropology, we would also study linguistic anthropology, whatever I was just talking about so far. And the last branch that we would study is archaeology. Now, because I told you, anthropology is that subject which studies the social, biological and cultural. I also told you anthropology is that subject which studies the present, which studies the future, which studies the past. If I have to understand the past, why should I understand my past? I should understand the past because I have a basis of evolution. I have a basis of evolution. If I am studying the present, I am seeing this. If I am going to see the future, I am seeing this. But don't you think, why is this like this? Or why is this like this? For which I will have to understand what were my roots, what is the process of evolution. From where did I come? Now, why am I walking on 2 legs? Why not 4? Forget about 4. Why not 6? We could also, no? Right? Why not 8? Like some spider. Why are we walking on 2 legs? That means there was some evolutionary history for us to walk on 2 legs. Are you understanding? There was some evolutionary history for our skull to be like this. There is some evolutionary history for our dentition to be like this. Is the monkey's dentition and our dentition same? Something happened. No. The monkey's dentition is protruding. Our dentition is what? Flat. Chimpanzee's dentition, our dentition same? No. So, in archaeological anthropology, we fundamentally study about past. What has happened? Now, more importantly, we would also have to study how did the society and culture evolve. As soon as our ancestors were born, were they using artificial intelligence? Were they using big data? They were having some primitive practices. Where you see the society started to evolve from Paleolithic to Mesolithic to Neolithic to Chalcolithic to Bronze Age and present. What has happened in this process? One definite thing that I can tell you here, what has happened in this process, there is progress. What has happened in this process? Evolution. What has happened in this process? Change. What has happened in this process? Betterment. What has happened in this process? Improvement in the process of living and improvement in the way of living. And that is what we fundamentally study as part of archaeology. What has happened here? What has happened in Paleo? What has happened in Meso? What has happened in Neo? What has happened in Chalco? What has happened in Bronze Age? That is a basic understanding. Why should we study that? For us to study what has happened previously. That is the beauty of that. And you also have to understand, my dear, anthropology is completely application oriented. Many people say it is a static subject, but I would say it is application oriented subject. Now, did you ever get a doubt that why is your bottle like this? It could have been something else also. Yes. Why is your bottle like this? I'll rephrase it for simpler understanding. Why is this not here? Why is narrow here? Why is it broad here? For you. Why is your pen like this? Easy to write. Fantastic. But why? Why is it easy to write? Why are we not writing like this? Comfort. Fantastic. Why is it comfortable? You fundamentally have to understand what is our thumb, my dear. It is opposable, gripping. If this structure was here, is it easy for me to catch and drink? Or this is easy to catch and drink? Easy to catch and drink. This is easy to catch and drink. I'll tell you one more. The most used gadget, mobile. Why is this like this? Why is it not like a tablet? Now when you put this mobile phone on your palm, when you're operating, you would see that the thumb can reach the top end as well as the bottom end of the mobile phone. Who's telling you to do all of this? Forget about that. You're wearing a shirt? Yes. How are sizes decided? How come you go to the shopping complex and say, yes, mine is M, mine is L, mine is XL, mine is S? Why are you not telling any other size? Is there something like XM? Is there something like XM? No. In male section, you will not see S more, but rather you will see M more. In female section, you will see S, XS, M, L, but very less frequency of XL, double XL. Why? Who's telling all of this? Will you say, sir, that is gender difference, sir? You're stereotyping, sir. Purely the reason is anthropology. In anthropology, what we have, something called as anthropometry. Means what? Measurement of human being. Measurement of human being. I have average sizes in India. I have an average size for female, I have an average size for male, where I would see more operating on M. Once upon a time, getting double XL was very difficult. Getting triple XL was very difficult in India. But today, we have something called as plus size market in India. There are brands which are operating on plus size. What does that mean? It simply means obesity as a problem in India started expanding. And who will tell you all of this? Anthropology will tell you. Anthropology will tell you. Once upon a time, when you look at the puberty stage of females, when I say menarche, when the menstrual cycle starts, the age used to be approximately 12 to 14 years. But now what has happened? The same age of 12 to 14 years has reduced to 10 to 12 years. Why? And you will see this puberty age is different in rural areas, puberty age is different in urban areas. Puberty age is different in poor families, puberty age is different in rich families. Why? Who will give you the answer? Anthropology. So when I say anthropology, anthropology makes your life better not because it is making you design something, but it will make you understand everything around you. Everything means everything. And this is the only subject which will make you understand everything what is going around you. Because at the end of the day, it is me. Aham. We say, yes, aham brahmasmi, we say. That I am the supreme. And what is the world revolving? World is revolving around me. In anthropology, we will study me. Me means you. And that is what is making the branch special. That is what is making the branch interesting. And that is what is making the branch comfortable, because we get to understand everything that is going on in the society. That is the subject aspect. Now, if you ask me, sir, why should we take anthropology? Right? Very simple. Because at the end of the day, how much ever inclination we have, how much ever interest we have, what is going to matter to us is what? Exam. Very simple. Now, when I say what is going to matter to us is exam, it's very clear here in this context again that when you look at optional, you know, optional has how many marks? 500 marks out of 1750. But the beautiful part of it is, out of this 1750, 1000 marks you cannot change much. That is what? GS. Yes. Why? Average score is 100. In GS3 that is even lesser. It's around 85. If I am taking average of 4, how much it is? 400. In GS maximum range will be around, I can say, something like this. 380 to 420. Now if I take the original scores apart from average, around 100 in GS1, 100 in GS2, say 85 in GS3, because that is how it is happening, and I am saying say 100 in ethics, how much it is turning out to? 385, say 390 approximate. Yes. Now when you look at essay, again what has happened in the recent past is they started bringing in philosophical essays. And we have seen the paper turning into philosophical essay paper. And when we look at philosophical essay paper, you see average score is 110. Once upon a time, there were days where we used to get 150, 160, 172 in essay. But now, 130 is a very good score in essay. Right? So, average is around 110. So, I will say 100 to 110 is this. Say 390 is this, 110 is this, how much it is? 500. Yes? Now what is the mains cutoff for general candidate? Approximately 750. So how much should I get in optional? Minimum? Minimum how much? 250. Just to give interview, not to get rank. Yes? You should take anthropology for this. Why? Because I can definitely tell you, anthropology is one such optional which will give you 250 at minimal efforts. Now here when you look at why 250 is easy in anthropology. One, if I look at the scores in paper 1, in paper 1 you see there are 3 major components. One is the socio-cultural, 2 is the archaeology, 3 is the physical anthropology. Now, on an average, if you see, what is going to change in paper 1 is majorly this. What is not going to change in paper 1 is this. That means, what does that mean? That means if I read something, if I understand something, if I know the dynamics of something, I can happily attend this section completely. And the beautiful part of this is, in optional you will have choice. There will be 8 questions, 2 compulsory questions. Out of 6 questions you will have to write 3 questions. 1 from each section and 1 additionally. That is the pattern in optional. Archaeology and physical anthropology will compose 150 marks. This will compose around 100. In this also, questions from 6th chapter, 7th chapter and 8th chapter will compose from 40 to 60 marks, which is again limited. Which fundamentally means what, my dear? 150 I am saying on a least end, 190 out of 250 in paper 1 is limited. And when I say limited, knowing the syllabus, having the notes, necessary fieldwork studies, necessary research studies, you know this, you can happily write any question from this section. In socio-cultural, it keeps on becoming dynamic. That's okay. Now, something which is giving me guarantee of 190 out of 250, which is pakka. Now say, I am getting around 55% in this. How much is 50% of this? Right, approximately take 200, easy calculation. 200 means how much? 55% is 110. Right? I am remaining with what, how much? 50 marks. Now just imagine I am only getting 30%. How much it is? 15 marks. 110 plus 15, 125. I am talking about a very lower end and I am talking about the lower range. Now when you look at paper 2, you will again have 3. Same, the Indian society part, archaeology part and the tribal anthropology part. Again, these two are limited. From chapter 6 to chapter 9 of paper 2 is tribal. 1.1 to 1.3 is archaeology, limited. In this also one section is limited, where you will have something called as village studies. That's again limited section. And for suppose say, again approximately this will be between 130 to 150. And what is remaining from here? 100. Which fundamentally means you will again land up somewhere in the score of 125. Now 125 in paper 2 and 125 in paper 1 is how much? 250. Name adjust cheyatledu. That is what is the trend. I have not adjusted any of this just to prove it. No. It is all the nature of the subject. Because when you look at most of the optionals, what happens? They keep on changing. That doesn't mean we will not apply. That doesn't mean we will not write research studies. We will write. But you have to understand the genetic impact of XYZ is the same. It's not going to change. Paleolithic, will it change today? No, it is the same. Will the tribal studies change? No. Problems of tribes are similar, but the approach to understand those tribals might change. Will the villages change today? Yes, the static aspect of it is the same. The character of it, what is the characteristic feature of a village? Caste is a character. Jajmani system is a character. Joint family is a character. Agriculture is a character. Peasant relations is a character. Are all these changing? They were once upon a time the same. Today we have some factors which are changing. We will only look at these what are changing. This will remain as it is. And that is why anthropology is an optional which will give you 250 plus with minimal efforts. And how to get those, what to get, when to get, that we are all here. That's one aspect. Now the second reason why we should take anthropology at R.C.Reddy IAS Study Circle, it's very simple. Why? Paper 1, I am going to teach you, right? Paper 2, Nadeem sir is going to teach you. Hope you know about Nadeem Hasnain sir. Yes, I'll tell you to do some field work before you get into anthropology, right? Go to any aspirant's room who is preparing anthropology and ask them, show me the standard books for anthropology, right? Any candidate all over India, not in Hyderabad, not here, all over India, any candidate who is preparing for anthropology, kindly take out your books of anthropology. In every candidate's rack, you will definitely find one book which is written by sir, at least. At least. Now, Nadeem sir doesn't teach anywhere else in the country. He has a very strong association with the institution and he comes and teaches, and he is a practicing anthropologist. He is a practicing anthropologist and he is an expert in paper 2. He would teach paper 2. And the aspects regarding the exam dimension, especially with respect to answers, that part again I would deal with it. Conceptual understanding, updations of the subject, what is happening with the field work, what is going on with the subject of paper 2 will all be dealt by what? Sir. How to write answers to a larger extent, some kind of small mentorship sessions that we would conduct for paper 2 will be done by me, right? This is another very big reason why you should take anthropology here, because I can again tell you on record that we have candidates who are getting direct selections from our anthropology batch. And I can also tell you with my experience that if you are diligently following the classes, you can happily score 270. And please understand, my dear, I don't want to give you false promises of 300. No. Why? Because, let me tell you, there is one opaque process which goes on in civil services mains examination called as normalization. Right? In the process of normalization, you might cross 300. 300 is not we get, but what you get out of normalization process. 1. What is in our hand to a larger extent is we can score between 270 to 290 effectively in our hand. Whether you will cross 300 or not will depend upon the process of normalization. Now, 1 year topper of anthropology was 298. Does that mean, now the topper of anthropology itself is not getting 300. Does that mean that person doesn't have subject? Or is it resultant of normalization process? Normalization process. And please be watchful about these promises of somebody telling you 300 plus in anthropology. Why? Because 300 plus as an optional will only come out of normalization, because you have so many aspirants writing so many optionals. They have a process which is followed in UPSC where they will normalize all of these scores. And the topper of that particular optional will only be resultant of this normalization. But what is in our hand? 270 to 290. Are you understanding? So this is the reason why you should again consider taking anthropology in this institute. Why? Because at the end of the day, now just imagine I am getting 270. Don't you think I am going to compensate extra 20 marks from GS? I am going to compensate extra 20 marks with respect to GS. And 20 marks is like what, my dear? 20 marks is like whether you are in the list or out of the list. Whether you are going to be serving as IPOS or whether you are going to be serving as IPS. Renditlo IPS undankandi. This is postal, that is police. That's all India service, this is central service. Are you understanding? So optional is going to decide a lot, and I would always tell you, if you have to make your journey of civil services easy, go with anthropology. And go with anthropology with us. Why? Especially this person. Because I think I am not very eligible to even speak about Nadeem sir. Because that is the stature of sir, that is the level of experience that sir has. And you please understand, my dear, at that age also, with that experience, he is coming and teaching you people. It fundamentally means you are listening the subject from the person who has worked on that subject. He is born anthropologist, we are all made. Sometimes we were forced. But he is the person who has been practicing. Right? So, and I would tell you that this is another consideration what you should look into. Now, what all are we going to do as part of anthropology course? Right? One, we would cover your paper 1. We would cover your paper 2. We would cover the mentorship aspects of paper 2 as well. That means when I say mentorship, a small effort from my side to translate your knowledge and understanding into answers. Right? That is my small effort, that's all. Okay. Now, what are we going to do in each of this paper is we are going to cover every word of the syllabus. When I say this, you can even cross-check. Right? You can even cross-check with batch 1 candidates. You can even cross-check with last year candidates. Every word in the syllabus paper will be covered. And after finishing every chapter, I will open the syllabus paper and show you the syllabus paper, and you will also get every copy of syllabus paper, and you will see whether all the words in the syllabus is covered or not. Okay, so that is one. We would have something called as handouts with respect to the value addition. All of the value addition of anthropology has been compiled into 3 parts. Part 1 is socio-cultural, part 2 is physical, and part 3 is paper 2. And each of it is around 100-120 pages. And that is the value addition which is sufficient for anthropology. That doesn't mean I am not going to teach value addition in class, no. That part is that even if you feel something extra has to be added, that is provided as part of handout, right? Apart from that, you would also have coverage of PYQs. You would also have something called as DMAP, right? What you would begin your class with writing an answer, right? You would have a timer opened in the class. You will have to start writing the answer, right? If I am saying, say, class is scheduled at 9 o'clock, 9 to 9:15 will be your this, where you will sit and write. Generally 11 minutes will be given for that answer. You will write that answer. As soon as I enter, I will finish the explanation of that answer and get into the class. So every day we will have practice of writing one answer. And over a period of time, once you finish some clusters of topics, because I don't believe in unnecessary tests, right? Now just imagine you covered only one topic and by the end of the week, is there a point of having a test on that? I don't believe in that. So what do we see? We see all the related topics will be put as test. And it is not the third person who is going to evaluate this test. It is me who is going to evaluate this test with one-on-one interaction. You can find out. That is also going on with respect to the candidates, right? Every test is evaluated by me. Every question paper is set by me. And every interaction and feedback is given by me. There is no third party outsourcing at all, unlike outside institutes. Somebody else will set the question paper, somebody else will evaluate, and somebody else will give you feedback. In this, everything is me, because at the end of the day, it is the belief system that we share together. And what is our objective? Somehow get 270 plus and reach between 270 to 290. And you will never see me uttering 300 plus, because I know what goes on with respect to 300 plus. I gave you one simple example. Last year topper was 298. Does that mean he didn't have the potential to get 300? No, that is part of some procedural aspect. In the process of normalization, he landed in 298, that's all. So what is in our hand? 270 to 290. If somebody is bluffing you in anthropology, say that you join my course, you will get 300 plus. None of us can get 300 plus. UPSC can make you get 300 plus, that's all. We can get 270 to 290. I am being very open on that with you and be very clear on that, right? So we are going to cover the test aspect of that, and we would also have, the next day we would have the explanation part of it, right? And in the similar manner, paper 2, sir will cover all the concepts. Sir will have the basic notes dictated. Sir will provide more of the field works which are conducted with respect to those topics. Because in paper 2, you majorly focus on 3. 1, you focus on caste studies. 2, you focus on village studies. 3, you focus on tribal studies. Whole of your paper 2 is these 3. Indian anthropology, it talks about caste studies, village studies, and tribal studies. And I told you, try doing this field work before you come and join anthropology. Go to any random person who is preparing for anthropology and you will definitely find Nadeem Hasnain sir's book present with him. And the person is coming here and teaching you, right? So that is another aspect that you will have to focus with respect to paper 2. And paper 2, some parts of answer writing I would cover, right? Whole of the subject will be done by sir. Some mentorship sessions will be conducted on that for answer writing. So what is happening? Whole of your anthropology will be taken care by us, right? So why anthropology? From the side of the life, from the side of the exam. Why anthropology with us? With the expertise of the faculty who are teaching. 1, Nadeem sir. 2, me, right? And with the comprehensive nature of the coverage of the course. And at the end of the day, what is our ultimate objective, my dear? I would want to put in less efforts and somehow cross 250 plus. And how much can we take it to? 270 to 290. What will take you above 300? Is it you or UPSC? UPSC. The process of normalization. Is this clear? Right? So hope to see you in the class right. And I always recommend be wise when you're choosing something. And always choose something which is going to reduce your burden, not increase your burden by giving you many materials or books. Is this clear? Right? So that is it from my side for today. Thank you.